Renzo is making a comeback to the renowned studio to perform once again after leaving his imprint on The Voice Season 27. For The Voice Battle of Champions All-Star Showdown, the frontrunner is getting back together with his old coach, John Legend. Renzo's comeback may also rekindle the animosity between Legend and his nearly coach, Adam Levine. As you may recall, Legend placed a block on Levine during the Season 27 blind auditions to stop him from recruiting Renzo. When Levine collapsed right after, fellow coach Kelsey Ballerini correctly noted he's down bad. For the remainder of the season, the Maroon 5 frontman blatantly favored Renzo, acknowledging in a later episode that "I've been regretting the blinds and bitching about it ever since." Coach Michael Bublé affirmed, saying, "I never go a day without hearing Adam exclaim, 'Renzo, I would have had him.' He will literally say 'Renzo' while dining at the caterer." By the end, Legend was more content than ever with his decision to obtain Renzo by using his block. "Renzo has really shown himself to be a formidable artist," he said to Extra. "He's a superstar with an amazing energy and voice, and he's introducing a musical style that no one else is doing this season." What has Renzo been doing since making such a big impression on Season 27 of The Voice? Get the most recent information about his career by reading on below. The Voice Season 27 concluded in May 2025, although it hasn't even been a year. Since then, Renzo has been making more music and marketing and performing his debut album, Renzo Volume 2, Get My Family Out, which came after the EP Renzo Volume 1, Another Part of Me. The musician currently collaborates with Taylor Guitars as well. He also revealed in March 2026 that he had signed with Blooming Music Publishing, a music publishing organization. His most recent hit is called Carolina. Renzo posted on Instagram, reflecting on the hectic year 2025, saying, "I've learned a lot this year. Some succeeded, some failed. The most important lesson I took away is that you can't outsmart, outrun, or ignore the task. If you don't put in the work, nothing will happen to you. That's all. It's time for some serious work in 2026. I'm incredibly appreciative and prepared to give, receive, and be even more appreciative. I appreciate you all rocking with me." His music continues to be a creative blend of genres. He posted a cover of Alice in Chains' Rooster on Instagram, stating that although he initially referred to his music as rock soul, it's more akin to soulful grunge music on acoustic guitar. Otis Redding meets Kurt Cobain, and Sam Cooke meets Kurt Cobain. It's Renzo. Long before he would meet the guy at The Voice Battle of Champions, where the Voice OG coach oversees the all-show showdown and acts as a mega mentor. He even put his own touch on a CeeLo Green song. Renzo, who currently resides in Los Angeles, is the father of 3 kids and is wed to French actress Clotilde Delavenna. Additionally, he states on his website that he still teaches science in schools. There was something immediately apparent about Renzo when he first appeared on the Voice stage. It wasn't merely simply vocal prowess, it was the way he carried melodies as if they were his own. Calm, concentrated, and a little surprising. The type of artist who can be heard without shouting. The show is the high point for a lot of contestants. Others use it as a starting point. Since then, Renzo's story has fallen in between those two concepts. Not a quiet disappearance, but yet not an abrupt burst into superstardom. Rather, it has been a gradual process of an artist attempting to discover his identity outside of the competition limelight. And that's where things start to get interesting. Life after the stage lights go out. After the season of The Voice concluded, Renzo entered the real world of music outside of television production, which is what every competitor eventually encounters. No voting every week, there are no coaches providing input, there isn't any set lighting intended to enhance each note, just identity, music, and audience response. In the immediate following, many performers from the event had to get used to a new beat. Millions of viewers' interest doesn't stay forever, so the challenge is to turn that focus into something long-lasting. For Renzo, that meant putting more of an emphasis on developing a unique sound that could stand alone, rather than doing covers on a competition stage. It's a tricky transition. Songs on the show are picked to make an impact in a little amount of time. Songs should be a long-term representation of who you are outside of the act. Everything is altered by that difference. Discovering his own voice. Identity is a major obstacle for every finalist or exceptional contender on The Voice. You're often recognized for your ability to interpret other people's songs on television. After the show, you have to answer a much more difficult question. How do you sound when it's just you? This stage has been more about discovery than reinvention. For Renzo, he has chosen to focus on creating a sound that feels individualized and adaptable, rather than hurrying into a more commercial route. Artists in this role often try out different styles. Some have a preference for pop production, some go indie or acoustic, some experiment with blending genres or R&B elements to find what works best. Perfection is not the most important thing at this point, it's exploration. That attitude is evident in Renzo's post-show creations. There's a feeling of pushing boundaries, experimenting with different emotional tones, and discovering what resonates on a personal and artistic level. Although it often doesn't lead to immediate viral hits, this type of experimentation creates a foundation that lasts beyond a trend. The stress of expectations. After finishing a show like The Voice, there's a special type of pressure. All of a sudden, you have a built-in audience that remembers your acts. People expect follow-up singles. Professionals in the industry demand consistency. Fans expect growth. But no guidebook comes with any of those assumptions. Like many participants, Renzo's hardest adjustment has probably been learning to move at his own pace, instead of the pace set by the public. In response, some musicians release songs quickly to remain relevant. Some slow down so they don't get lost. There isn't a right answer, only what works for the artist. In Renzo's case, the post-show phase has felt more structured. Building something that feels genuine enough to endure past the initial wave of publicity is more important than pursuing attention. Creating a bond outside of TV screens. The way musicians engage with audiences has changed significantly since The Voice. Television production acts as a mediator for the connection during the show. Then it becomes straightforward. Here, social media is incredibly important. Social media sites like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok become creative spaces in addition to promotional tools. Renzo has probably shared smaller performances, behind-the-scenes glimpses, and informal conversations with audiences. People don't realize how important these moments are. They help turn a competitor into an approachable artist. He becomes someone who can be followed in real life rather than just the guy from TV. That shift is subtle but important. It maintains the relationship long after the season is over. The actuality of self-growth. Building a long-term music career still requires planning, even with the prominence of The Voice. Daily life includes partnerships, songwriting sessions, studio time, and continuous creative decisions. Many former candidates now have to deal with the reality. The industry is not based on a single moment of fame. It is based on consistency. That continuous process is reflected in Renzo's journey since the show. The focus has been on steady progress rather than a spectacular breakout moment. Every advancement contributes to a greater identity. That kind of path is significant in some way. Even while it might not appear spectacular on the surface, this is how many long-term musicians manage to make a living. Life on the stage. Performing live after the competition remains one of the most important aspects of any artist's development after a show like The Voice. Every stage becomes a new challenge in the absence of the weekly competition format. For Renzo, performing after the event is more about developing genuine audience connections than it is about winning over judges. Live performances become the setting for the refinement of artistic identity, whether they take place in small venues, special appearances, or community events. These experiences are invaluable. This is the place where artists discover what works outside of television's controlled setting. Songs have a different feel in front of actual audiences. Energy feedback alters the evolution of performances. Even minor delivery changes can change the reception of a song. Eventually, a performer becomes a more complete artist as a result of these encounters. Learning through voice experience. Each competitor departs The Voice, whether they succeed or fail. Renzo was probably exposed to and educated by the event. A sort of creative training ground is created by working with elite coaches, adapting to weekly themes, and performing under pressure.
However, understanding audience perception may be the most important learning. Viewers react quickly on a show like The Voice. A performance either makes a connection or doesn't. Artists learn a lot about instinct, timing, and emotional delivery from that instant feedback loop. After the play is over, those lessons remain relevant. They continue to shape an artist's approach to subsequent work. Identity beyond the label of competition. Removing the title of contestant is one of the most challenging changes after The Voice. People frequently refer to musicians by their placement or season, even after the program has concluded. But overcoming that identity is necessary for long-term success. This has been a slow process for Renzo. It involves building a catalog, establishing a unique tone, and producing music that is independent from the program. At this point, artistry becomes more important.